What's going on, everybody? This is dkdynamite, and today what I have for you guys is yet another huge update for the Call of the Dead remake here in DLC 4. It's my privilege to announce that yet another anonymous person reached out to me just last Friday and shared very specific details on DLC 4, DLC 5, and even the Black Ops 2020 reboot. But just for today, we're going to specifically focus on DLC 4. Now hear me out on this one. Let's jump into the details about the DLC 4 map itself. He then said it is much bigger than just a Call of the Dead remake. It includes the house and maybe other areas that are new. We have 2 new perks coming and 2 new wonder weapons. One of the new perks is going to be coming specifically with DLC 4, while the other perk is going to be coming with DLC 5. He also knows that one of these perks somehow allows you to camp a lot easier in game. So it might be some crazy buffed version of Stronghold. Not sure what the ability could be, but he doesn't have details about the perk itself. He then went into the wonder weapons. He wanted to clarify what I've been talking about when it comes to elemental scavengers. So as I brought up in a previous video from the other anonymous person that reached out to me, elemental scavenger is a bit of a stretch. What it actually is a wonder weapon resembling the scavenger, but it'll have certain upgrades and modifications you can add to it, similar to the Ray Gun Mark II upgrades that we have on Alpha Omega. The other weapon apparently is similar to a ray gun and the Apothicon Servant combined. So when I think of that, I immediately think of the Ray Gun Mark III from Gurad Krovi, because in one hand on your left you have the GKZ-45, which shoots a little bit of a portal very similar to the Gersh device for the Apothicon Servant. Then in your right hand you have the Ray Gun Mark III itself, which can shoot pretty damn fast, very effective against Manglers and all the other bosses on Gorod. So when he talks about a ray gun and Apothicon Servant combined for this Call of the Dead remake, it's going to be insane. I have no idea what that could be or what that could look like, but really looking forward to it. Now, he went in detail about the final operation itself for Black Ops 4. He said that the final operation that'll begin on September 24th will be sports themed, obviously beginning after the Modern Warfare beta ends. So it was safe to assume that this final operation or DLC 4 would release on October the 1st, a week after September the 24th, because it's safe to assume that with the Modern Warfare beta, there could be days where the servers are down, they extend the beta a couple of days, they extend it by a week, you just never know. So maybe Activision would have been like, let's give the beta some time to die down, give a little week gap in between the Modern Warfare beta and the release of DLC 4, but it appears that's not the case. We're actually going to be seeing DLC 4 and the final operation starting literally right after the end of the Modern Warfare multiplayer beta. He then said that we're going to be seeing 3 new elixirs, 2 of them being old elixirs or old gobblegums returning from Black Ops 3, while another one will be completely new. He also mentioned that there will be no new specialists added for the remainder of the season or for DLC 5. Just a quick tip on DLC 5 or Victus Chronicles. He then said that there isn't going to be a super Easter egg reward. No calling card, no sticker, no nothing. Apparently the super Easter egg was unfortunately cut after some issues going on behind the scenes with it, so they just cut it out completely. So this again could be taken with a grain of salt, as he reminded me a little while later after telling me this could be changed later on. Maybe the super Easter egg is added a little bit later, you know, closer to the release of DLC 4. Maybe it's just a calling card or a sticker, a camo. Could be something simple, or they save a super Easter egg reward for after DLC 5 releases, when we have all Ether maps finally added into Black Ops 4. Maybe at that point, after doing all Easter eggs, you'll be given something for doing them all. But as of right now, at this time, during, you know, the first week of September, there isn't a super Easter egg currently in game. But he did say, once again, keep your fingers crossed, something could be added later on down the line. Now, he also mentioned that those secret rooms that Glitching Queen covered recently, which I also made a video about a little while after, are actually a part of some type of cut content. Unfortunately, they were scrapped ideas for different accessible areas around a couple of different maps: Blood of the Dead, Classified, and even Alpha Omega. I know there's one on Ancient Evil as well. Unfortunately, that's part of a scrapped idea that never made it past too much of development, but was originally planned to be a part of some type of Easter egg on the map and for the other maps as well. So it's unfortunate to announce that those secret rooms actually aren't anything. He also mentioned that there is no second ending to Classified, despite there being audio in the PC files that could support one. That Nikolai audio is unfortunately a part of some type of scrapped concept, some type of scrapped idea that just never made its way onto the map itself. Although it would make sense to see some type of second ending on a certain difficulty or a certain round. There's no strings for it in the files, but there's audio to support it, similar to how there was audio to support the original Classified ending, which obviously again had no strings, because all you have to do is get to a certain round to trigger it. Would have been cool to trigger the actual Nikolai memory trailer in game to reminisce on the original one from BO3, but to also point out that yes, Nikolai's leader of the group now, he's a more important character, and it's a perfect tie-in to the Alpha Omega intro where Nikolai also gives a speech very similar to that one from the memory trailer. But unfortunately it's not the case for Classified. Now he also mentioned that they're keeping it top secret as to how George Romero and Danny Trejo will be featured in this Call of the Dead remake. Now obviously out of respect for George, they're probably not going to feature him as a boss or an actual character on the map, but they could put a memorial somewhere around the map, a tombstone, a book, a poster, a cipher, something to pay respect to the old director who unfortunately passed away not too long ago. And obviously, you know, Call of the Dead is George Romero's map, so it'd be very sad not to see anything about him in the remake, but I'm assuming we'll get something very special from Treyarch. Now in terms of Danny Trejo, obviously he was heavily involved with Operation Apocalypse Z. I don't just think, you know, he was visiting Treyarch just to be featured in Blackout or anything special for Apocalypse Z. I think he was really in the studio for something else in regards to this DLC 4 remake. So since they have his character model done, they could easily make him a bot somewhere around the map that can help you out with the Easter egg. Maybe you visit him or you time travel to the events of the original Call of the Dead and you just pick him up for something. You know, they probably can't afford the entire original cast from Call of the Dead. Robert Englund, Michael Rooker, Sarah Michelle Gellar, but at the very least, since they already have Danny Trejo in game, they could definitely pull him in for a cameo or a surprise appearance at some point in this upcoming remake. But it would be great to see him either as a playable character at some point or even just a bot that helps us out at any point throughout the map. Now here's one of the biggest points he shared. DLC 4's cutscenes will actually be rendered and cinematic as everybody was hoping for in DLC 3, but that wasn't the case for Alpha Omega. However, DLC 5's cutscenes will actually be animated. So I see no issue with DLC 5's cutscenes being animated, since obviously the original Victus cutscenes were all animated as cartoons back in Black Ops 2. I see no issue sticking with that consistency, but it would be great to see Victus rendered at least one time in an actual cinematic cutscene, at least for DLC 4, which I believe we're going to be getting. But he also said Victus will 100% play an important role on this map, and a lot of the new DLC 4 info he has is pretty recent information. So again, you can take everything with a grain of salt as you guys may, but the info he's reporting and gave to me for this video is actually new information. So stuff that is definitely recent that he heard, which is probably very accurate to what's actually going to be released in the map very, very soon. But he did say that there's a lot of story in this map, answers a ton of questions we've had for a long time. Dr. Monty is also definitely involved, but he doesn't think his voice actor returns. He thinks someone else does his voice, but they sound alike. So getting somebody out there to do a good impression of Dr. Monty to still give some type of closure to Malcolm McDowell's portrayal of Dr. Monty from Black Ops 3. Obviously, they kept Malcolm McDowell's face in the actual intro for Alpha Omega, which gets me thinking that they have some type of license or ability to use Malcolm McDowell's presence in a way with his face and the actual image of Dr. Monty. But when it comes to the voice, maybe since Malcolm McDowell's too expensive or there's some scheduling conflicts, they said, you know what, you can use his face, but you're gonna have to get somebody else to impersonate his voice. Maybe that's the case, and I really like that idea, because at first I was thinking they were gonna, you know, pull a cop out and say, you know what, we'll just have Dr. Monty in his squid form throughout the entire time of DLC 4, and he'll be speaking this, you know, deep Apothecan language like Brutus was at the end of the Blood of the Dead main Easter egg, and in that boss fight, I was expecting that to kind of still have Monty's presence on the map, but without him actually speaking, since Malcolm McDowell probably isn't returning. So at the very least, we'll see somebody do a good impression of his voice, so I'm looking forward to. But their excuse for why his voice might sound a bit different could be that, yeah, when he's in his squid form, he could still sound like something like Malcolm McDowell's portrayal of the character, but with a mix of this deeper, evil, keeper Apothecan tone. So really cool to see that. Cannot wait to see what they do with that. But it's also worth noting that maybe Dr. Monty and the Shadow Man merge into one, the Ancient One, or the Ancient Being that's been described before in ciphers and in some radios and the storyline we have in Black Ops 4. We could easily see them merge into one character, and once we kill kill that one character, boom, all the Keepers and Apothicons die from that point. So it'd be cool to see that at some point within the DLC 4 boss fight. Last but definitely not least, I had to ask about this. What happened to factions? You know, I've got this confirmed from other sources before that it was replaced by contracts and it happened behind the scenes, but he had to reconfirm for everybody here that they cut factions because it ended up becoming too late and they wouldn't have been able to keep up with the updates fast enough for what they originally intended. Now, we obviously learned from the Dark Ops achievement that factions was supposed to feature 12 events, obviously one being every month, and as I've gone over with many of my other sources, factions was nothing more than glorified weekly and monthly callings. So I'm assuming we would have saw weekly callings kind of similar to contracts, except again, they would reset every week. You'd probably get bonus plasma, bonus elixirs, whatever that could have been, or it was just purely character customization, useless cosmetics. And when it comes to the monthly callings, obviously you were able to join one of 4 groups. And I guess whenever that monthly challenge came around, whichever group actually got more completions or more kills or more headshots for that month's challenge, that group of people and whoever's involved in that group would actually unlock specific and exclusive character customization for the characters in game. But I think after the Halloween event where they released those useless face paints and I saw the community feedback to that, they were like, you know what, there's no point in releasing all these customization features and all these cosmetics for a first-person shooter where most of the time you can't see any of these cosmetics unless you watch a mid-game cutscene, which only a few maps actually have, like Blood of the Dead and Ancient Evil. So completely pointless to do. They saw the community's reaction to that and said, you know what, let's change it into a more universal feature, which is contracts, where in Blackout multiplayer, World League, and Zombies, you have more ways to unlock tier skips, reserves, plasma, XP, all these other crazy things, as opposed to just unlocking character customization. So it also sounds like factions was more leaning towards the Chaos story. So as of right now, Chaos is on hold. There has been word that I've been given by not only this source, but other sources as well, that those 2 other Chaos maps might end up releasing during a possible year 2 of Black Ops 4 with a smaller budget, just to end the Chaos storyline before Black Ops 2020 fully dives into this reboot and this new iteration of Zombies. And he gave me plenty of other details on Zombies Chronicles 2, the 2 other Chaos maps, and even Black Ops 2020, which we will be covering in separate videos. But I almost forgot, he did mention something about Grief, which you guys are definitely gonna love. He said that Grief is either coming with or slightly after the release of DLC 4 and the final operation here within Black Ops 4. So we're only a couple of weeks away from finally seeing the release of Grief. We haven't played it since Black Ops 2. It's been so many years, so finally seeing a revamped version and a more replayable version of Grief is going to be great for the community who won't be playing Modern Warfare this year. And he also mentioned Turned and said it's most likely coming with DLC 5 and the Green Run maps. But we'll go into more detail about the complicated release schedule for DLC 5 and even a DLC 6. If you don't want to miss that video coming out very soon, this has been DK Dynamite. It's my pleasure to bring you guys the latest and greatest Black Ops 4 news and information, reliable leaks from reliable sources, from honest people that I know you guys will definitely care about. And besides that, we also have more in-depth breakdowns and tutorials coming with the release of the Call of the Dead remake. But that is about it. Really hope you've enjoyed. Check out links down below in the description, and peace out, everyone.
A strange device for sure.